Hey everyone, Mitch coming in today from not the studio, so if the audio's a bit off or if you hear some sounds in the background, that is why. Regardless, some exciting spoilers to talk about. Marina Vendrell is the very first one that I want to jump into. A 5-color commander, of course you know, that is near and dear to my heart as always. A 3/5 human warlock for 5 mana. Obviously, all colors. Thank you, MTG Goldfish, for the translate version of this one. When it enters, reveal the top 7 cards of your library. Put all enchantment cards from among them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And also tap, lock, or unlock a door of target room you control. Activate only as a sorcery. Now, here's the thing about rooms. There are only so many of them. Obviously, we only have so many so far. They're only just from this set. In the future, we might get more of those. That being said, obviously, the support for this one is somewhat limited right now. In the future, we might get more and more, and it might be more, more supported for that. That being said, I am not necessarily leaning toward actually, utilizing a full room strategy. I'll utilize the good ones, and obviously they're very good ones. There are some that are somewhat lackluster and wouldn't be all that good with this commander. That being said, yeah, I would probably more so just lean into do a great Enchantress 5-color deck with this, because that first effect, again, that ETB, reveal the top 7, get enchantments in your hand, that can be a huge effect. I mean, I'm thinking kind of like Niv Mizzet. Is it Niv Mizzet Supreme? There's a couple different Niv Mizzets, but basically ETB, get a lot of things off the top, like the new Atraxa, essentially. This can actually help you hit, again, depending on how many enchantments you have in your deck, and you'd want a glut of enchantments in your deck to really make the most out of this one. You could hit, upwards of, you could hit 7, obviously, that'd be incredibly lucky. But typically you'd probably hit, 3 or maybe even 4 or 5. So using and abusing this ETB, which again is crucial that this is not a cast trigger. If this enters the battlefield, if you cast it, that would be different. I would not be recommending the strategy. I would probably just say hey, wait until there's more room support for this one. That being said, with this being a great ETB, you can use and abuse it with blink effects, and obviously since you're in 5-color, you've got all the blink effects to utilize, so do so again and again and again, getting again a glut of enchantments into your hand. So much value we have. Of course, utilize rooms when needed. Obviously, you can get a lot of value out of that tap ability, but again, I would just focus on this just being a draw engine for the deck. Just digging down into the deck, getting a ton of enchantments in your hand, and utilizing them in fantastic fashion. And of course, kind of with that blink theme too, really leaning into that, and maybe even with some mass blink effects, because, well, there are certain things we have Eerie now in this set, but also Constellation, of course, that you can take advantage of getting enchantments into play again and again and again. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting things to do this one. Again, 5-color commanders are, of course, near and dear to my heart. I love them. So, of course, I'm probably going to build around this one. Let's jump in some cards real quick that I would consider for a deck built around Marina Vendrell. First up, of course, very simply, Cloud Shift. Yeah, being able to just simply blink your commander for 1 mana, that can be huge. I mean, there's a lot of different variations of this. Of course, Ephemerate, Wizard, reprint that, please. Exile target creature control, turn the battlefield under control, instant speed for 1 mana. That is a lot of value. Again, basically just picture this being, hey, draw between, 0, you could whiff, to 7 cards, essentially. This could just be, for 1 mana, that effect. Or again, when you have other Constellation effects, other Eerie effects in play, obviously those can be impactful as well, depending on, what you're blinking. Next up, Nahiri's Resolve, an enchantment that actually blinks for us. Again, this is huge. Being able to utilize cards like this, you're getting the benefit that it's an enchantment, again, potentially hitting off the top of the library and getting Constellation effects. This is an enchantment for 7 mana in Boros. Creature control get +1/+0 and have haste. That's nice. Again, actually, you can utilize your commander's tap ability right away as well. So do keep that in mind. On top of it, at the beginning of your end step, exile any number of non-token artifacts and or creatures you control. Unfortunately, it's not enchantments. That's okay, though. Return those cards to the battlefield under those control at the beginning of the next end step. So being able to just, again, repeatedly blink our commander and other enchantments that we have that might be creatures as well can be fantastic to get those ETBs again, including Constellation triggers. And speaking of Constellation, Skybind. The first Constellation card I'm going to bring up, enchantment for 5 mana in white. Whenever another enchantment enters the battlefield under control, exile target non-enchantment permanent, return that card to the battlefield under someone's control to begin next end step. So you can't exile enchantment, but again, you can exile your commander. You can keep blinking your commander every single time an enchantment comes into play again, which can be quite a lot throughout the game. So again, this is basically just free extra value, free extra blinks for you as the game goes on. So that can be absolutely huge for you. Again, like I mentioned before, lots of different amazing constellation cards. Again, I'm not going to highlight any of the eerie cards in this episode because they're from this set. I've already highlighted them in previous episodes, but keep those in mind too. But Highlighted Blossoms is an amazing one. 2/2 Spirit for 4 mana and green. Constellation. Whenever it or another enchantment enters the battlefield under control, draw a card. This is huge. Again, it does not require a cast. Like Mace Enchantress, those Enchantresses are great, and you might want to consider those too. But this one especially, and that other new eerie one as well. Hey, enchantments coming into play, cool. Draw a ton of cards, especially if you can keep linking them again and again and again. Doomwake Giant. Yes, this thing is brutally effective. A 4/6 Giant for 5 mana and black. Constellation. Whenever it or another enchantment enters the battlefield under control, creatures opponent's control get -1/-1 until end of turn. This can be a great way to decimate your opponent's boards. And again, make it so that they are never comfortable having their creatures in play, because all it takes is you to get a lot of enchantments to play on a turn, or again, mass blink your enchantments and bring them back, and all of a sudden their board's gone again. So just having this in play, even if you haven't wiped the board yet, it is a board wipe threat repeatedly. Next up, Thought Render Lamia. A game-ending card. A 5/3 Lamia for 6 mana in black. Whenever another enchantment enters the battlefield under control, each opponent discards a card. This is brutally effective. Again, once you get this going, once you get things going with it, once your opponents don't have any hands, the game can basically be over, especially if you have like instant speed blink effects for some of your enchantments as well. Even if an opponent like draws their card for their turn, guess what? Your card's probably going to be gone if I can just blink one of my enchantments, get it back into play, and all my opponents are discarding cards again. You control the game. The game's basically over with this one once you get things going. Semester's End, again, a great card for this kind of a deck as well. Exile any retired creatures and or planeswalkers. Again, unfortunately not enchantments. That's okay. Begin next end step, return them back to the battlefield under control. Loyalty counters, who cares? What matters is basically this is a mass blink spell for us. There are many mass blink spells these days. Make sure you're utilizing them properly, essentially, and just keep getting those enchantments back into play again and again and again. Get your commander back into play again and again and again for so much value. And of course, you need to finish out the game at some point, right? Archon of Sun's Grace, unfortunately not an enchantment itself. That's okay though, we can make some exceptions for this deck as well. A 3/4 Archon with flying and lifelink. Pegasus creatures control of lifelink. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you're going to create a 2/2 white Pegasus creature token with flying. You can flood the board in absolutely no time with Pegasi, whatever they are. Being able to flood the board in no time with a bunch of lifelinking flyers can obviously be very beneficial to, well, get your life total up, but also to just decimate your opponents, obviously, with that evasion too. When it comes to some pricier cards to consider as well, Enlightened Tutor, always going to be a pricey card. Instant for a single white mana. Search your library for an artifact or enchantment card, reveal it, shuffle your library, put the card on top. Again, although it is on top of the library and not directly in the hand, it might as well just be in your hand with this commander, because again, on that ETB, you're going to hit that enchantment. You're going to make sure that you actually hit it, put it right on top, and all of a sudden, oh, that's coming right into my hand. The perfect enchantment for the situation that I'm in, whatever I need. And that one actually might be Thassa Deep Dwelling. Again, take advantage of enchantment creatures, especially because enchantment creatures, well, again, can be blinked with those mass blink effects that only target creatures. Again, helps you with the constellation, and Thassa helps you even further with the blink. At the beginning of your end step, exile to one other target creature control, return to the battlefield under your control. Basically Conjurer's Closet on Thassa. You can also tap down creatures if you need to. It also can become a indestructible, it's already indestructible, but indestructible 6/5 creature once you get Devotion up if you want to do that. But still, even if it's just sitting down basically as an enchantment, that can be absolutely massive for you. Okay, moving on to the rest of the spoilers from overnight. We've got Fear of Exposure, a 5/4 enchantment creature nightmare for 3 mana and green. And this one's really interesting in the way that's worded. It's got trample. That's not all that interesting. But as this will cost to cast this spell, tap 2 untap creatures and or lands you control. That can be really cool. It's kind of like a mini Convoke in a way. So it's like a low to the ground creature. Now, how much play is this going to see like in Commander? I mean, maybe like Nightmare decks, maybe Enchantress decks, but yeah, and maybe like if your commander like cares about like invoking or that kind of stuff too, that could actually see play. But other than that, it's just a big body creature, mostly for other formats. Next up, Killer's Mask, creepy art. Artifact equipment for 3 mana in black. Creature has Menace, equip 2. Enters Manifest Dread and attach Killer's Mask to it. Again, if you have, and I mentioned these on these kind of like Manifest Dread equipment, if you have those types of decks out there that really care about equipment and getting creatures into play right away, great, do so. If not, don't really worry about this one. Next up, Brood Spinner, a 2/3 spider with reach for 2 mana in Golgari. Enters Surveil 2, so again, some nice card selection right there, and also graveyard filling, which can be great. And also pay 6 mana and tap 6 mana in Golgar, I should say, and tap and sacrifice, create a number of 1/1 black and green insect creature tokens with flying equal to the number of card types among cards in your graveyard. This can become quite a bit, obviously, throughout the game. So if you do have that kind of self-mill strategy, I would definitely consider something like this, because this can be, again, a good ETB to potentially use and abuse, but also one that, hey, you know what, once the game gets going, I can actually create, again, a good number of insects. Again, upwards of, like, 6, 7, 8 or so. So you can create quite a bit. Obviously, spider decks can consider it as well. Next up, exercise. No, not that kind of exercising, like, running around, but, exercising like demons. Sorcery for 2 mana in white. Exile target artifact, enchantment, or creature power 4 or greater. That is a good, wide range of things you can get rid of for just 2 mana. It is exiling, so it's permanent. The only problem here is it's a sorcery. So I would say, again, that's usually a deal breaker for me. Target removal has to be very, very, very good for me to be considering it at sorcery speed. This is good. I don't think it's quite there for Commander, though. Moving on. Let's play a game. Okay, obviously reference to Saw. Sorcery for 4 mana in black. Delirium, choose 1. If there are 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard, choose 1 or more instead. Creature spawns control get -1/-1 until end of turn. Each opponent discards 2 cards. Each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. When it comes to what kinds of decks might want this, again, it is like you're really getting the most bang for your buck, obviously, if you have that Delirium. Just choosing 1, it's not going to be worth it for that. It's not going to be worth any of those individual effects for 4 mana at all. That being said, if you can consistently get Delirium, then maybe you'd consider it again for a discard deck or a life drain deck, or I guess just if you really care about your opponent's creatures being -1/-1. I guess if you have a Maha deck, that would be it. Moving on. Osseous, I don't know how to say that. Stick Twister. A 2/2 Scarecrow with lifelink for 2 mana and black. At the beginning of your end step, if there are 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard, each opponent may sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card. Then Osseous, Stick Twister deals damage equal its power to each opponent who didn't sacrifice a permanent or discard a card this way. This is quite interesting in that, again, it is like repeatable. Right, again, at the beginning of your end step, this keeps happening. That being said, you do need Delirium, so again, you have to make sure you have a deck that actually can consistently get that activated to actually get value to this. Otherwise, it's just a 2/2 lifelinker. It is dealing damage equal to its power to each opponent, so again, you are gaining that life, which is nice. So again, if you can consistently ensure that you're getting things in your graveyard, so again, like self-mill, those kinds of things as well, maybe consider it. It is a nice force sacrifice, so if you care about edict effects with a deck, definitely consider it as well. Otherwise, hey, Reaper King, you're getting more and more Scarecrows in this, scary set. So congratulations on that. That being said, again, thank you everyone for bearing with me on this episode. Again, not my normal setup, but I appreciate that you are still here. So yeah, hope you all have a good one. And of course, stay tuned to this channel for more quick takes and spoilers coming out.
This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.